Hey guys, welcome to Comfy Cozy Up. So it is my 6-year anniversary, guys. 6 years of doing BookTube, 6 years of dedicating my channel to books. You guys know I started it on and off. I was doing it for a year, but I was just only posting videos, which are still very much special to me because these are moments of meeting some of my favorite artists, going to musical things. So the beginning, you'll see that I also have bucket list on there with my mom. So, and some traveling stuff. So I did some interesting things on this channel. But in June 30th of 2017 is when I said, you know what? This channel is going to be dedicated to books. And it has been books, of course, and then it ventured into not only books, but my hobbies that included journaling and making journals and doing all these other DIY projects that I've done over the years, especially on here. This bookshelf is behind me because if you know the first video, the bookshelf did not look like this. I defaced it and have it looking like this now behind me. Today it also had, you know, those Google memory, and the picture popped up of me right in front of this with my books talking about my June wrap up. And so I have really loved this channel, but this channel also been my saving grace in terms of dealing with my emotions, dealing with some tough times that we've had, and dealing with things that I've discovered about myself and things that I held on to for enjoyment, which is where the craft come in. So before we do that, you know that this dress I have on is this, honey. So I modified because I didn't like the collar, so I took the collar off because this fabric is way too thick for that collar, and it just was looking like I was choking, and I didn't like that. So the collar is not completely done because I have a pin in the back because the hook that's supposed to be on it was too small, so I have to get another hook. But it came out really good. I modified the arms because if you look at this, let me come up a little closer. The arm was too low, which would have gave me, you know, a little bit of boobie thing hanging off, and I just wasn't going to do that. So I modified the sleeves a little so it comes up a little bit wider, and you won't see any of that situation. Everything else is the same, guys. The side, I gotta put some pictures or some photo or video, but the side buttons, oh my god, I love it. And I kept 2 of the buttons open, so I have a little split on the side because I think it just makes it a little bit more modern looking. But I got this fabric last week, and I just wanted to try to use something that was just going to be totally different than what you would expect from a vintage pattern like this. This is a retro. This is, you know, I can't, the 1950s. And they would not be wearing no pattern like this. So I'm glad I chose this pattern. Again, it's heavier. So of course it's a bit more structured. And I don't know if I'm going to keep it, but I made shoulder pad because this is for the first time in my life. And I don't know if I'm going to, you know, I think it looks good with a shoulder pad, but I figure when I edit this video, I'll look at it and see if I want to keep it on. If not, I'll take it off because it's not really fastened. I just have it propped up inside so I can see how I feel about this shoulder pad situation. But I think it might be better with the shoulder pad. But other than that, it is completely like a love. I did love this and I executed it. I think I'm going to redo this in a softer material, but I'm hacking here. And change up here a little bit where it's not going to be so tight up on my neck like this, but this is the style. But yeah, so I love sharing that. Now I decided, let's take a walk down my 560 books, guys, that I have read since since 2017. Like, I'm just kind of, the numbers just hit me and I'm like, 560 books? Wow. So let's talk about the books that I had each year and what was my favorite that year, and kind of like why was it my favorite. And these are books that were all 5-star reads for me. These are books that are memorable. I still enjoyed it. I still look at them and said, yeah, I will read it again, that kind of deal. And I will link like each year what my top 10 books were in the description, so you go check out those. But let's start. So I got a little notes here in my reading journal. So 2017, I read 71 books. And my favorite at the time is a contemporary. That's never happened since. And that is 32 Candles by Ernesta T. Carter. She wrote 2 books under this pen, and then she decided to venture into romance under a different name. And I had not been able to recover from that decision that she made. I'm not a big fan of the romance novel that she writes now with a different pen name. I read 2 and I was just like, oh no. But as a contemporary writer, she is amazing. This book really took me on that woman of self-discovery, of finding herself, of not allowing the things that happen to her completely control her. And this book really was that kind of book. Not to mention, this book had me laughing. I laughed so hard in so many different ways on the things that was happening in this story. But it also had romance, because there is that fairy tale love ending that that was necessary, you know, that needed to happen. But it didn't focus so much on romance. It really focused on her, the things that were happening, how she ended up in from one state to another, and how she ended up in the career that she had. So if you haven't read this, or if you have, you know, chime in on the bottom. But I think this is a perfect summer read as well. I think you definitely should pick this up. The covers are all, I've changed over the years, but absolutely think you should pick this up. Then we end up in, let me move my pattern up the way. So then in 2018, I read 77 books that year. And of course, the favorite was Marlon James, The Book of Night Women. This is when I was like, I'm just a super fan of Marlon James. I've read all his books, and I do mean all his books. And I've had the opportunity of meeting him and getting my book signed, except for the last book, because I haven't seen him since. But I realized how powerful he is about talking about Caribbean characters, especially Jamaican characters. And this story really made me think of the Maroons, made me think of Nanny, made me think of decisions that are that had to be made regardless of the good and the bad that comes with it. And how he wrote this character in this book, she is just amazing. And go check out my review on this, because this is one of those books that I felt like I wanted everybody to read. Absolutely wanted everybody to read. And it has slave narrative, but it's just a more powerful and not so much of a victim's kind of story. It's more of a woman who just has that power to do what's necessary. And the writing in this is just absolutely, yes. The history in this, like, he really dig and did his research. And it just made me just love my Jamaican authors just even a little bit more, because it just do it for me in this one. So if you haven't read the Book of Night Women, it is a Caribbean author, of course, Marlon James. It is a well done 5-star. Absolutely love it. Pick it up. Then in 2019, I read 81 books. So the book, it'll come up. The amount is increasing. And the favorite book I read is one of the books that I feel like the theme of this story. There's so many things you can discuss in this book without even touching everything. And it's a book that is touchy, but it's a book that I was fully aware of certain things in this book because of stories that my mom told me. Stories that I've heard from other family members or friends who are Caribbean. And so it became such a interesting message for me that I absorb it in a different way than someone who focused on the point that she wasn't a good mother, and that is Patsy. Patsy by Nicole Dennis Ben. She's another author that is Jamaican that I absolutely love. I met her a few times. She shared the same birthday as my mother, who also met her on her birthday as well. It was just a special moment, and so I've met her quite a few times since, and I can't wait for her new project. She has a big deal, so we waiting to see what she comes out with next. But this one is such a theme. The theme on this book, and I did a reading vlog, which I'm gonna post, because I think in that reading vlog where I touched on so many different things, I had my cousin here, so it was things I was discussing with her. And yes, there are people who leave the island for whatever reason and never look back, and there are some who forget their children, and for different reasons, not necessarily the same reason as in the story, but it has happened many times. And so reading this, you see the struggle of someone who's in this country, one, alone. I've had a friend who did that for many years, alone, no family support, no friend support, and had to navigate through this country until now she's living a life. But it has happened. It is a struggle that a lot of people would never know, including myself. I can only, hear their stories, but I've never had to experience any of that. But it happens, and how you were living with the regret and the loneliness and sometimes the shame, and it's different impact. And there's that one male character in the train situation, and I remember just thinking that that's just a hard one, but there was a message in there for that. There's so many things that this book really touch on, and not just the fact that the character is experiencing the hardship of what it's like to be a gay woman living in the Caribbean, or the change and the discovering the identity of oneself with the daughter, and also the longing of a parent, and the parent who you don't understand or will ever understand why they were never there or why they did not communicate. There's different things in this, and the apartment living. I really, there was so many things in this where I'm like, yep, know somebody, oh yeah, I know somebody who's dealing it. So the theme was just good for me. So if you haven't read Patsy, definitely pick it up. Again, she's not necessary for a likable, it's for a message and an experience, and the fact that it does relate to women and parents who do what she has done. It's not something that is like far-fetched, but there's some people can't get past that, so it's understandable. And this is one of the ones where my name was in the book. Yeah, my full name. Some of y'all know my full name. Then we got to 2020, and 2020 was another important reading year, because 2020, of course, the world went upside down. And during that time, I think I read quite a few books that I thought, even to this day, that I absolutely love. My top 10 was very nice, and it was so many books in there that I could feel like I could read and have that memory all over again. But this book was a pick from a book club, which is the Read So Lit February Black History Month book, and this book was picked by Dee Dee. And I remember thinking, the title, The Last Thing You Surrender, Leonard Pitt Jr., and I haven't read anything else from him, but I heard so many good things about his book. Like, this is just like a piece of the pie. Like, you're going to want to eat more. That kind of deal. And this book really is that epic historical fiction that will just absolutely make you never want to put the book down. You want to keep turning the pages. You want to know what's going to happen next. The characters was written well. The storyline was executed well. The writing was just done well. There's nothing I can really say bad about this book, because it was just one of those books that if you read it, You know what I'm talking about. This is the book that I felt like, why didn't it get more shine? Why didn't more people know about this book? Why wasn't it all over people's Instagram and YouTube and all these other social media that was out in 2020? Why wasn't it there? Because this book needed that shine, because it was absolutely fantastic. If you've not read this book, absolutely pick it up. I mean, you will not regret reading this book. It is so good. It's a little chunky, but it's an epic historical fiction. You want this journey. You want to live in this moment in this book and see the things and the message and the why it was named. You know, The Last Thing is Surrender. So, yeah, pick it up. And then in 2021, I hit the 100. The 100 book, and it was like accomplishment knowing that I can read 100 book in a year. And say that loud. I read 100 book. I read 100 book. And I had some up and some books that was chunky, and I had some small books, but I did a good job that year of reading all these books and getting to that 100 books. And a lot of it is because I started getting tons of books towards the end of the year. And from, you know, a certain group that I do judging for. And I remember just thinking like, okay, these boxes were just coming in, and it's been like that since 2021. So it's 2021. Around here, this mark about to the end of the year, I get books sent to me, and I've gotten some really interesting books I would never even think of reading, and I love that. It's why I continue doing it, because I get to discover different authors. I am not on social media as much, guys. I am that person that will post my daily journaling video, post a picture every so often or a reel, and I'm off. I do not spend no lengthy time on there. You know, I have once in a while on my day off, I will sit and just scroll through. But I don't spend a lot of time. So a lot of times I don't know what's out. I don't know what's new. And so having these publishers sometimes send me things, or these organizations send me things, or let me know something's available. It's how a lot of times I discover new books. Or if I'm doing Caribbean, where I sit and actually do my research to find Caribbean books that I really want to read, that's how I discover them. So oftentimes I'm getting them from you guys, of you guys in the comments who are saying, hey, you know, check this book out, or private message me and ask me to check this book out, because I don't spend as much time with social media as you think, because I rather read, journal, and so but I'm working on trying to do a little better, because there's certain books that I missed this year that I'm like, I did not know, and I'm so glad that people were able to tell me, hey, Caribbean author, check this one out. So, but this year I had a book that was a new release, and it was a new release that got hyped, and I did not know this book was going to destroy me, and that is Yellow Wife. And Sadika Johnson. This is a debut. Now, I did read our follow-up this year, but this book, absolutely, it was a book that when I finished reading this book, I remember just sitting there. It was a sit and soak it in moment. Like, I remember just sitting there like what did I just like that's how much this book was just absolutely like gut-wrenching, raw, and ugly, but also powerful. And I remember just wanting to know more, wanting to know the inspiration behind this story, because it was inspired by a true story. And she took, of course, make it fictional with the characters and what she assumed, but the institution that this book was under did exist. And where that institution now lies and what's sitting on there made the story even more like, you know. I thought that when you think of debut authors, and I find that I started liking the fact that they can just go there with a book and just take a chance, because they want to be published. They want to have this being a career and a life for them. So they're going to create these interesting stories, which is why towards the end of the year, most of the books that I read are from debut authors. And she did an amazing job with this. it's a memorable story. It's just one of those that you're just never going to forget. And it is a hard book sometimes to read certain things that were happening, but it was just one of those where I felt like you still can keep turning the pages and not feel like you got to put it down. But she did it for me. She did it for me. And then, of course, last year I read the most book ever, 103 books. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen this year. I'm almost halfway if you think of the amount of books that I have read as of now, which is, I think it's 48 or 47. And I don't know about 100 hits because I have some really big books coming up that I'm going to be reading, which is, we're talking 700 pages and up. So I'm not sure if I'm going to hit that mark, but I'm going to try. Anyway, so last year, 2022, this was a special read. I call this book a personal read. That book that it doesn't matter what anyone thinks about this book because of how well and how importantly you connect to the story. And that was Lucy by Jamaica Kincaid. I still stand by this book. I still stand by how it made me think about certain things about myself. It made me think about things that at that age and how I felt. And the journal entry at this end really shattered me. I just remember just crying because I thought I understood. I understood so well this character and the struggles and finding yourself and wanting love and wanting what it feels like to be in love, to completely love someone and what it will feel like. And I've never really had that moment since that tender age, and I think about it, and it's that moment where it just became more special to me of understanding this character, and that sometimes that feeling and that want you crave, and is how hard it is to even see yourself in that picture and to be that person to really love. This book, I read it twice. It's one of those books I think I would probably read every year. Maybe not even the whole book, but there's certain excerpt from the book that I would look at again. Because this was a personal read, and there's that book that we all have that is a personal read that you connect with, and maybe other people will never understand, but you don't care because that's just not for them, it's for you. And I love when authors can do that to a reader, of like creating that story that you connect and you feel special and you hold on to the book. Let me know, what is your personal read, like that book that you really enjoy? It doesn't matter what anyone think, but that book is always going to be special for you, that you hold on to, that you like looking at, you like thinking about. Let me know in a comment, because I do feel like as an avid reader, and most of us who are watching me are avid readers, that you have a special book. Let me know. I'm curious to see what some people's special book are. You don't have to tell me why it's special, but just like, that is your personal read. So in the comment, just say my personal read was, and just list the book. I would love to know why. And that is it. So this year so far, it's some good stuff. It's some good stuff. I haven't really narrowed it down to what my favorite books this year was. But let's see. Let me list a few that I felt. The Streets, Ann Patchy. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's just imprinted in my brain. That book. Hold You Down, Tracy Brown. Absolutely a favorite this year so far. Take My Hand. Absolutely. Absolutely. The classic, Anna Karenina. Y'all know how I felt about that book. And let's see what else we have on here. Those are the ones that stood out the most. I mean, there's a lot of 4 stars in here, but those were like my absolute like memorable books so far that I absolutely love. Yeah. Yeah. Of course, Little Women. I still think that's a special book. Classics were doing it too, you know, Of Mice and Men. You know, that's just another classic that I definitely would. Also, my TBR jar. So, my TBR jar, which, you know, tomorrow is Select July. I think I have to put 2 more books in here that was recommended to me. But that was something special I did on this channel that this year that I'm loving. 6 books. I'm almost, I think I have like maybe 50 pages left in the last one, which is going to be done today because today's the 30th and it has to be finished today. So I will talk about that in my wrap up. So the next video will be my wrap up. So let me know, like, what are some of the things you you enjoy about this channel, because I would love to see what people really liked to watch. And also, again, you know, just thank you guys. This channel is just so much more than books to me. It is, you know, like I said, my saving grace, my happy moment, my moments to express myself, to share, to do things. And it has helped in so many ways, and I'm glad I have this platform to use. I've grown over the years. I mean, I'm not exactly at the 5K right now, but at the same time, I do like the small community. I do like the freedom I get to say and express myself without having to worry about being bombarded by people who may, you know, have something negative to say, because the bigger you are, the risk you have of not getting a positive feedback from people who have a, you know, social media can be a little rough. So I do like that I do have a small platform, but I mean, at the same time, I think 5K would have been nice. That's like my little goal of, you know, of reaching like maybe a 1K a year kind of deal. But at the same time, it's about the quality and the support, and I appreciate you guys so much. So I'm gonna end this. Take a few pictures in this dress. And I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching, guys.